More women have come forward accusing Roy Moore of sexual misconduct when they were teenagers, and more Republicans are bailing on the GOP Senate candidate from Alabama, including the GOP Senate Majority Leader. The fight for Alabama's Senate seat. The most powerful Republican in the Senate calling on the GOP candidate Roy Moore to quit the race now.
Do you believe these allegations to be true?
I believe the women, yes.
The Washington Post reporting Moore is accused of molesting a 14-year-old girl and dating teens when he was a district attorney nearly 40 years ago.
To think that grown women would wait 40 years to come right before an election to bring charges is absolutely unbelievable.
Moore, defiant, digging in and standing his ground. But Monday, another accuser stepped forward to say that Moore sexually abused her when she was a minor.
I was terrified. He was also trying to pull my shirt off. I thought that he was going to rape me.
More than 40 Republican senators and the White House saying Moore should step aside if the allegations are true. But Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell already looking for another GOP candidate.
We're looking at whether or not there is someone who could mount a write-in campaign successfully.
Moore fired back, tweeting, "The person who should step aside is Mitch McConnell. He has failed conservatives and must be replaced. Hashtag drain the swamp." In Alabama, many voters appear to be sticking with Moore.
If it was actually true, this should have come out a long time ago.
I should note that Republicans seemingly by the hour in Washington are speaking out against Moore. Texas Senator John Cornyn this afternoon just withdrew his endorsement of Moore as well. Senator Susan Collins of Maine, she released the following statement, quote, this again, the Maine Republican, "I have now read Mr. Moore's statement and listened to his radio interview in which he denies the charges. I did not find his denials to be convincing and believe that he should withdraw from the Senate race in Alabama." Now, in reference, take a listen to this clip. This is the radio interview the senator, that the Maine senator just referenced there, Susan Collins. This is with Sean Hannity and obviously Senate candidate Moore on Fox News. Take a listen.
You do remember these girls. Would it be unusual for you as a 32-year-old guy to have dated a woman as young as 17? That would be a, 15-year difference, or a girl 18. Do you remember dating girls that young at that time?
Not generally, no. If I did, I'm not going to dispute anything, but I don't remember anything like that.
But you don't specifically remember having any girlfriend that was in her late teens even at that time?
No, I don't remember that, and I don't remember ever dating any girl without the permission of her mother.
Ew. All right, let's bring in our panel right now. Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Iona College, also senior advisor at the consulting firm Applied Techonomics, and Noam Bramson, Democratic mayor of New Rochelle. And guys, we'll get into some local politics in a minute, but just this is stunning. And for me, Noam, the calculations that are going on in real time, National Republican senators saying, wait a minute, I don't want to be saddled with this guy no matter what. But if I go against him, I risk tweaking the base that is a part of this. What do I do? But seemingly, you're seeing a wave here of Republicans saying, if you win, and maybe they'll do the math, we're going to remove you here. We'll get 2/3. We'll get every Democrat, and at least 20 of us will vote with them here to get rid of you and never let you join the body politic of the U.S. Senate. It's an interesting mathematical equation as we speak.
It is, and look, to be clear, in my opinion, this guy was a catastrophe before these allegations came out. He's a hateful bigot who thinks he can defy the Supreme Court because he receives personal instructions from God. And if that's your view, you should move to Iran. You'll fit into the government there, but not here in the United States. I have been somewhat surprised at how forthright some of the Republican senators have been in denouncing Moore right now, and I have to believe they've reached the calculation that even in these hyper-partisan times, being a creepy, hypocritical predator is simply a bridge too far, and that they will all be tarred with association with Moore if he makes it to the Senate.
And by the way, if people want to be creeped out, read the Higson case. This was a case where it was 8-1 in Alabama. The one judge who wrote the dissenting opinion was the aforementioned Mr. Moore, and this was about whether or not a 4-year-old could have any consensual abilities in a sexual relationship. He took the bizarre dissenting opinion here, so there's a lot of creepiness attached here. Noam's right. They tried. Republicans, to be fair, they tried to get Luther Strange to be the guy. They even talked the president even to go against Steve Bannon, who has been in the Moore camp from go. In the end, though, the Republican electorate in Alabama seems to want this guy. So the question is, if they want him, warts and all, this isn't a criminal investigation, would the Senate be overstepping its bounds to say, I don't care what they say, we don't want you with us?
No, I mean, they'd be perfectly within their right. I mean, one thing that is unusual about the United States Congress is they control their own membership. And so they do have the ability to get rid of a member who has somehow defied their ethical rules or you know, stepped out of line in some way. And we've seen that in the past.
Yep.
And it could absolutely happen again. I think, you know, for Republicans, this is very dangerous territory because, you know, these allegations, and I urge everyone to read the Washington Post reporting on this. It is really fine reporting. And I think, having read it carefully, very middle of the road and careful.
And just to amplify what Jeannie pointed out is, people have read the headline of this story and people say, oh, the Washington Post, and you saw Roy Moore threaten to sue. I will bet anyone any amount of money he never sues, okay? If you read the reporting, not only is it fair to Jeannie's point, but moreover, they go into the sourcing. You have 4 women on the record. You reportedly, even by more than 30 some odd other women who didn't. You saw another woman come forward today with detail. She had the yearbook from when he signed her yearbook with bizarro language when he was in his 30s as a DA, and she was a high school kid. Now, the gender question. A lot of people that you see when asked and say, hey, if they felt this way and this happened 40 years ago, why are they coming out now? Some of the answers have been, it took the courage of other women to come forward. You saw this in a certain degree with the Weinstein case as well and others. We're having a national dialogue, maybe a long overdue one about this, but what about that argument, hey, why'd they wait so long?
Well, you know, I think if you read the piece, the women reflected in that piece say it took them, I mean, when you are 14 years old, 17 years old, you are basically a child. And so to go through this experience, these were in some senses at their, as they've described themselves, children of divorce, children who are going through very difficult times themselves. They were, you know, flattered by the attention of this older man, and they also felt like they were somehow complicit in what had happened. And so they told friends and sometimes loved ones in certain cases, but who were they going to report it to? So, I mean, in my mind, it's silly to ask, you know, why didn't they come forward at 14 or 15 years old? They say in the piece the reason they didn't was because there was no one to go to and nothing to be done about it. And yet when they were approached, let's not forget, these women did not come forward to the Post. They were approached because rumors were swirling around Roy Moore about this.
They one former colleague in the 80s,
and they answered honestly. They answered honestly when asked.
Do you think, because of the attention to this, the Weinstein case, the other high profile, do you see as a mayor, when you have a lot of other people in authority reporting to you, that people think twice now about comments they said, let alone completely egregious behavior? Do people understand what harassment is better now than maybe they did 2 months ago?
I think they probably do. I think that a conversation of the kind we're having as a country, painful though it may be, is probably in the long run healthy in terms of sensitizing people to the relationships that they ought to have with coworkers and friends and colleagues. I have to say that in my own personal experience, I haven't noticed any real change because I haven't been personally exposed to harassing behavior prior to this conversation. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in my organization, it just hasn't unfolded in front of me. But I think anytime we better understand the dynamics that shape people's sense of self and ability to express who they are without a sense of intimidation, that's important in creating a more just and equal society.
And I'll give some free political advice. Not that anyone from Alabama is asking me. Bite the bullet, do whatever you got to do to get rid of this guy. If you're in the national, you don't want to have him be the face of your party for the next 12 months with midterms coming around, let alone, by the way, it's the right thing to do. All right, coming up next, George Latimer era. It's about to begin in Westchester County. We're going to look at what actually happened here in Westchester. Not only that, but many other races around the country, and also some of the plans as to how this county may change. Moreover, how much effect did Donald Trump play in that and other elections? Stay with us. We'll be right back.